Hey, what's up, everybody? It's me, Danae, and I'm here with a message for you. What's up, y'all? April 9th, Thursday already. Hope you're doing well. It's, what time is it? 2:13 on the clock. Today, I felt guided to pick up these cards. These are my affirmation cards, Disney princess affirmation cards that I haven't used but one time on this channel, and it was maybe twice. I think maybe twice, but it's been a very long time. And I was just like, man, I really want to use some fresh energy today, and my eye just couldn't look away from those cards. I'm like, really? Okay, fine. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say that this might be more of a princess, queen, empress intensive message. Generally speaking, divine feminines, divine feminine message. But we'll see. I also have the doll face deck by the Ghetto Nun on standby because I may not get very far or get an expansive message from the cards, because I'm only going to draw 4. I'm going to draw one of each type. In the deck, there are inspiration, affirmation, conversation, and activity cards. So what I'm going to do literally is just kind of pick out one. They're color coded, as you can see. I'm just going to pick out one of each color and see what we got. And that'll be at least the first message. If not all there is, we'll see. You know how I do. I can get lost in the chitter chatter, and that'll be it. So let's go with, I think I wanted to do inspiration first, so I'll take this blue one here. Oh, I didn't mean to turn it over yet. I kind of already saw it, but that's okay. Conversation. Actually, I think I want to start with conversation, which I think kind of poses a question or an idea to contemplate. I'm going to reorder these, I think. So conversation, let's do a yellow card here. Activity, I'm pretty sure that's going to be last, but let's see the last color, which is, what's the other colors? I know there's an affirmation one, isn't there? Did I make, yeah, affirmation is green, duh. So I'll take that one. All right, so let's see what we got from that. What did I say I was gonna do? I'll just switch it like this. Affirmation will be last, I suppose. All right. Right? Does that make sense? Or maybe the activity, like the call to action, should be last. Yeah, that makes sense. All right. I almost feel like inspiration should be first too, but I guess I should have worked this out better before I push record. All right, so let's see the conversation. Imagine that you've been stuck inside for a very long time. What will you do when you finally get, this is so appropriate, when you finally get to go outside? Will you have a simple picnic or a grand adventure? Describe it in detail. So this is Rapunzel, obviously, right? And we know her story, that she was trapped by her mother in the tower, who really was, you know, a witch, or some type of sorcerer and whatever, I guess. I'm not 100% familiar with Rapunzel, but the movie anyway. But I know that she was some type of witchy character that I believe stole Rapunzel from her birth parents, who were royal, and kept her locked in a tower. I don't really know why, though. I don't know if she was just kind of siphoning her power, or trying to keep her beauty away from the kingdom. I forget, or if it was some like just a general attack against the royal family. That part I don't remember. But that, I mean, it's really on point for what a lot of us have been experiencing most recently, just given winter alone. And where I live, winter is still holding on for dear life. You know, like we got a couple of flash heat hot days last week or the week before, but other than that, last night it was cold. Today is, it's going to be no more than like 60 or something like that, which isn't bad in the grand scheme of things. But almost mid-April, and it still really just feels like winter. Just a mild day in winter. So there's that aspect where the cabin fever feeling is admissible, but also the captivation, on is spiritually, if not actually, that has been going on for a long time now, where people just want to be free to create, to live, to explore, to make their own mistakes at their own will, make their own choices, to flex their personal powers and see what it yields, and in the most practical sense and in the most fantastical way, just wanting to be expressive. And there have been forces that have, for a long time, just really maintained control over that liberty. And so now I believe that there is a turning point, a new era is underway, where I've been speaking about it personally, and many have in different ways, about just finding your connection to sovereignty in whatever way that expresses itself through you. It could be just the freedom to explore on your own time. I was literally just in prayer about the luxury of time and leisure, and being able to kind of move and shake on my own terms. And that part is even, a bit of great fortune that some have not either been privy to or privileged to have, or that have just not assumed the right to have. And so now that might be, you might be at that threshold, or you may have already kind of broken free from the monotony of life and the constraints of your existence, of coexistence at best. Now is the time where you really get to ask and answer the question of, what shall you do with yourself? What shall you do with, perhaps for some, extra time, free time on your hands, or a higher quality of time, maybe even resources, or activity, access, authority over your life? What will you do? Will you keep it simple? And in this case, I feel like the picnic versus the great adventure kind of signifies the range of choices that you really do have the liberty to make. Whether anybody's come along and tapped you on the shoulder to tell you so or not, you've always had that liberty. But being more conscious of it, will you accept the bare minimum? And in this case, I struggle to call a picnic, a simple picnic, the bare minimum in like a negative connotation, but I'm trying to make a point, because a sweet picnic might be enchanting for someone that maybe never has the time to just sit out in nature and have a little snack or a little feast and absorb the natural energy of life. So I'm not diminishing that, but the comparison is vast here between the two, to say, like, what will you do? Will you keep it play small, or will you play to your biggest, to your fullest capacity? Now you have the liberty to make that choice, and it won't be a deference to anyone else, to say, well, I couldn't do such and such because X, Y, and Z, or these constraints or these limitations. When all of that is repealed, and there's nothing else but you to decide, what will you choose? And I feel like if you're not at that point of what's the autonomy as it is, then it's a good time to contemplate, and maybe that even be a visualization exercise for materialization, to really consider, how would life look in the most ideal sense? Like, how would a day in my life look if I had full range and control over that creativity? Because you do, and soon for most, if not all, that will be, holistically evident, without resistance whatsoever. So there's that. And this describe it in detail again is an emphasis on the visualization piece, to really start to imagine yourself living that ideal life, or having that ideal experience, creating the most ideal circumstances. What does it feel like? What does the food on your simple picnic taste like? What's on the menu? What does an adventure look like in your eyes? Maybe even to consider a great range of different things for yourself, to cultivate an array of possibilities, but making sure to consciously place yourself in the scene of that presence, so that it almost feels, well, so that it does actually feel real to you. So that almost amounted to a bit of an activity, but that's where we're starting, okay? So let's see inspiration. Ariel. This is the one that I saw, but I didn't know what it said. So I just don't see how a world that makes such beautiful things could be bad. Oh, wow. I don't even remember her saying that in the movie, but it's been a long time since I've seen the Disney flick. And would you believe it? I never saw the live action one. Shame on me, right? I know. I need to watch that. So to me, that's emphasizing your outlook of the world and your place in it, your experience in it. As I said, as you begin to imagine, that's the first word in the card actually, and visualize this reality. Do so void of the projections that you're bombarded with, which is definitely more easily said than done, of course, because every time you might want to escape into your own little world, there's usually always something to drag you back into this matrix, for what it's worth. But it's within your power, and of course now within your responsibility, to just maintain that pure perspective. And it doesn't mean it's definitely a hard line to toe at times in terms of being a creator, which we as women, as the feminine force, are naturally. We can embody creativity on a level that is miraculous, quite simply put, So, and in conditions that are that are treacherous, or a range of negative things, you can make something beautiful. I mean, case in point, one day I'll share my pregnancy story, and I had every reason to just completely succumb to the misfortunes that were occurring at a moment when there should have been pure bliss, and nothing to contend with. Yet I did have much to contend with. And I still was able to maintain a posture of peace, and to stay in the presence of love even within myself. That actually made for a quite enjoyable pregnancy, to all things considered. Like, I really enjoyed the time that I carried, and I enjoy being a mom. I still do. So with all of that being said, like, we just have this divine power to make beautiful things obscure uh in obscure circumstances, and sometimes with obscure materials. But we also wield that power to be able to create regardless of the impressions that are being made around us, or even directly upon us, in some cases even the attacks that are hurled our way. And that's a beautiful power to possess, that level of resilience. And it says that it's a power, it's a strength, and it's a privilege to be able to create in that regard. And it shouldn't be taken lightly. If anything, I'm getting that that's what you get to lead with, where most of the world, even, whether you're masculine, man or woman, I should say, most of the world is conditioned by what you can sense in the physical form, which, as I said, that can be the dominant force of inspiration, or not inspiration per se, but of influence, where you can't help but see everything that's wrong with the world, but you don't have to absorb that, and you don't have to make it a part of your being, and you certainly don't have to conceive with it in a way that now you are manifesting or creating from it. You get to do something quite opposite, something quite contrary, not just because you can, which is the beautiful in itself, but because there is an invitation, a higher calling or privilege to answer to be the exception to conditioning, as it's contemporary or conventionally accepted. Because if not you, then who? And if everybody's creating more of what they're just the products of, or they are influenced by, then nothing gets to change, and everything stays the same, and we're all stuck in this fishbowl of chaos, with no promise of a change of scenery, or a way out. And nobody wants that. So yeah, I just don't see how a world that makes such wonderful things could be bad. And it's definitely not about being naive to what is. Like I said, it's a hard line to toe, because it's still maintaining a consciousness of what is true for some, but it not necessarily having to be true for you, or a perpetuated truth for you. And also, there was something else that I heard too. Like an emphasis here on what was it? Darn it, on not hope, but damn, there was something else that was really speaking to me while I was speaking. But I will say hope and faith for sure, like being able to see beyond your circumstances, or beyond what's in front of you. And like alchemizing as well, because you're being able to take, as I said, circumstances that may be unsavory or unfavorable and still create something good of it. So even if the world is as it is, you can still take those elements and make something altogether different. Yeah, so there's that. All right. Yeah, and the optimism too, to again, to although things may appear to be a certain thing, it's the optimism and the alchemy to like transmute that energy to a higher frequency. Like I said, if not you, then who? Like if everybody just resolves to just live life as it goes and accept whatever is coming your way with no no question or resistance or counter to it, then the world would just be a really bleak place, more so than it may appear to be or seem to be at times. Like, if not for the faithful few that are courageous enough to see life outside of the fish tank or outside of the fish bowl or the box, if you will, then we'd all be stuck. There'd be no hope for a future that's even better than what we've already had. So, affirmation here. Oh, Ariel again. Wow, okay. I have a voice that matters. Here we go. I have a voice that matters. My voice is one of the most valuable tools I possess. It takes courage to speak up for what I believe is right. And that pretty much just doubles down on what I said, but this is almost giving like an example of that vehicle of creativity that again often is disregarded or diminished by self and certainly by external forces and societally, especially speaking of a woman's point of view, like where women have been silenced forever or have tried to be silenced, but that power and that force is undeniable, so there's only but so much the feminine force can truly be oppressed and certainly can't be, well, suppressed and can't be oppressed to the point of oblivion, because nothing would survive, right? But it's really kind of like affirming for yourself, if no one else will, that your voice is more than capable of changing situations, whether they be personally, generally, or universally, to suit what you can imagine or what you can perceive to be on at a higher resonance. So again, like seeing what is in front of you, but using the tools in your possession, just your voice alone, needing nothing really outside of you. And that's just one example of being fully equipped to make change. But your voice, just in the words that you speak to yourself, and the words that you speak to others, and the words that you speak into the atmosphere, whether anyone's listening or not, that change the vibration of creation overall, change the creative consciousness for the better, especially when those words are intentional to do so. So use your voice, tell your story, share your ideas, sing your song, write your book, create your cards, start a channel, share your experiences with friends, speak to yourself with care, with compassion, with grace, with love. Don't be afraid to infuse the highest frequency of confidence into your spiritual being by the words of affirmation that you speak, not just about the things that you know are great about you, but even using those words to bring to fruition the things that you may have a desire for, a wish for, that maybe hasn't even actualized just yet. That's how powerful your words are, that you can talk yourself out of towers, out of confinements. Consider Eight of Wands situations where you feel disempowered or you feel stuck, where you can talk yourself out of being uninspired, about being hampered perhaps by the mundane aspects of life that feel humdrum, where you don't feel particularly passionate about anything. You can call in that passion and infuse that passion by the words that you speak. And of course, again, key emphasis on the confidence piece to undergird all of those natural powers and abilities and gifts and talents that you come fully equipped with, most of which may not be affirmed by anything or anyone outside of you. But all that it's missing is for you to believe in yourself, and to believe in the power of what you do. Don't let that be lost in the translation of insecurity, and the illusion of insecurity. Yeah, you have a voice that matters. I love that. All right, activity. Oh, Belle from Beauty and the Beast, of course. All right, and so this is again heavy on the imagination, which I mean, obviously with the Disney princesses, it's on trend, on brand. However, this card says use your imagination. As my phone lights up at 2:40. Read the first few pages of one of your favorite books and then make a new ending. Oh my gosh, that's everything that I was saying. That you don't have to surrender to a narrative that is not authentically yours, that is not authentically, is that right? Well, that was not authored, let alone authorized by yourself, by you. You don't have to conform to what the world says your limitations are. You don't have to you don't have to surrender to the acceptance or rejection of conventions, or conventional society. You don't, she definitely, Belle was always aspiring to escape through her book when her real life, was boring and uneventful, and then she have ultimately kind of manifested adventure for herself in ways that she didn't even mean to, or came along kind of serendipitously in a way by way of what appeared to be tragedy. Okay, so I'm hearing it through tragedy, but ultimately ended up being a fairy tale ending, so it's like really here a nod to monetizing your pain or your experiences, or here it is again, alchemizing the misfortunes in your life to not necessarily or not exclusively be a payday or a payout, but for it to have value, greater value than it being diminishing or depleting, to rewrite the story of some of maybe your most unfortunate experiences, and tell the story in a way that gives life, that is empowering for others, encouraging for others, or just that empowers you, as a in a triumphant way, whatever it is that could be. It could be something simple, it could be something, severe, either way, like, you have the power to first perceive the best of that experience and then project it, whether that be in actual words or artistic expression, or if, again, it's just used to affirm your highest frequency so that you're never a victim of your circumstances, but always a victor, always triumphant. And of course, that's for what has happened in the past, but then there's also, the projection of the future, as I said, where you can use your words, your visualization, your pure passion, your imagination, your intelligence, your compassion, your love for life, your curiosity. All of that can be infused into a projection of the most ideal happily ever after that you have the capacity to construct for yourself. And there's no limitation on that. There's no timeline or deadline for when it gets to be experienced or how it gets to be experienced. And it has an infinite or eternal resonance that gets to live on like a book beyond your human lifespan. Where what you are able to create in this lifetime is a story to be told and passed down, a legacy to be shared for generations to come. So it's like, not only do you owe it to yourself to create the best ending, the most optimal ending you possibly can by way of new beginnings, if that be the case, even fresh perspective of seeing old endings, you also, not to say you owe it to those that are coming after you, because you don't, but they certainly can stand to benefit. And if you're particular, as I talked about, being a mom and divine feminine energy, that doesn't have to be limited or exclusive to offspring, as in children in the physical form, but it could be just the impression and the imprint that you leave on everything that you create. That's, again, will linger or will be left behind once you have transitioned on. You'll always be remembered by that inflection of that inflection of frequency, good, bad, or indifferent. Because, not necessarily because, but is it a because? I don't know. Maybe not a because. I mean, because, that's your divine right to do so. That's what we're all here to do. But certainly, you'll always be remembered for what you've left by what you've left behind. And of course, as Maya Angelou says, how you've made people feel. And sometimes when they can't even feel your presence anymore, those things, those artistic expressions, the companies we build, the mindset that we pass on to our children, the children that we bear, that can tell the story of your life well after you, and maybe even tell it better than you ever could, in some ways. So it's really given a full range here about the past and affirming your experiences in the past, alchemizing the best and worst of times to transmute into triumph, and to construct that full range of vitality in a form that will survive you, So again, write the story, write the songs, sing the songs, start the channel, share your truth, live your truth out loud with no apologies or inhibitions. Explore, 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 and don't let anybody tell you anything, don't let anybody project any danger or threats onto you for your pure passion to explore and experience the most of what life has to offer. And remember that along the way, you are writing your own story as you're living it, and you have full creative control over how it gets to end and how it may even be told after you, or at least the materials left behind to express that truth. Yeah, so I think I'm gonna leave it there. There's not much more that needs to be said. I'm not gonna pull any more cards. Um, yeah. So from beginning to end, as we started, imagine if you have all the time, all the liberty, all the opportunity in the world to create the life of your dreams. What are you going to do with it? How are you going to express it, experience it, and then how are you going to document it, if at all? Of course, the choice is yours. But you really have full range of control from the beginning, especially the new beginning that's underway, that's already underway, to the very end. What are you projecting out? Is the culmination of your creative force. That's the power that we are being affirmed. Well, first of all, made aware that we possessed, and affirmed and authorized to express. So enjoy in true princess vibes, queen vibes, empress vibes. Allow life, as you take care of yourself in life and take care of things and people and places that you love in life, don't forget to allow them to also take care of you, because you deserve to be pampered by all the spoils of life that you can imagine. All right. So I'm going to leave it there. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Until next time, as always, I leave you with peace.